Good morning, children. I am beginning the class again. For those who are joining late, please be on time. It's an important topic. I would not wish that you miss out this topic. Like I said yesterday, we had stopped at depreciation and investment, and today we begin from NIT, net indirect taxes. What is net indirect taxes? It is the difference between IT and subsidies. The difference between IT and subsidies. What is IT? Indirect taxes. Many a times indirect taxes is given directly in the question. Otherwise, we have to calculate the indirect tax as well. So what is indirect tax? Write down, I asked you to write down. Indirect taxes are taxes which are imposed by the government on the production and sale of commodities. For example, sales tax, excise duties, custom duties, all these will be taken as indirect taxes. Now, what are subsidies? Write down. Subsidies are cash grants given by the government to the enterprise for production of certain commodities or to promote export of goods or to sell goods at a price lower than the market price. So for the promotion of exports of goods, for the production of certain commodities, the government gives cash grants, and this is sold at a price which is normally lower than the market price, and it is termed as subsidies. So when we are going to calculate net indirect taxes, it will be calculated as IT, that is indirect taxes, minus subsidies. Next is market price and factor cost. Market price, factor cost. What are these? Write the definition for market price. It is the price at which the product is sold and purchased in the market. It is abbreviated as MP, market price. Factor cost, it refers to all factor payments made by the firms to the factor of production. It is the price at which the product is sold. It refers to all the factor payments made by the firms to the factors of production. What are the factors of production? In the previous class we discussed there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. So what are the factor payments here? Rent, wages, interest, and profits. These are the examples of factor cost. They are factor payments. That is rent, wages, interest and profit. Now we come to the very important part of today's class, the aggregates of national income. Now there are many aggregates, children, in national income, but in our syllabus in class 12, we are only limited to 8 aggregates. 4 in the market price and 4 in the factor cost. The 4 in the market price would be calculating GDP at market price, calculating GNP at market price, calculating NDP at market price, and calculating NNP at market price. So these are the 4 from the market price, and the same 4, but they will be calculated from factor cost. That is GDP at factor cost, GNP at factor cost, NDP at factor cost, NNP at factor cost. So these are the 8 aggregates we are required to study about, and these are the 8 aggregates which we will do very nicely. I will be explaining to you, instead of learning by heart, how we can manipulate and how we can easily get the formulas for calculating these aggregates. But before I do that, I will first give you the definitions of all of them. So I will give you the 8 definitions, and later on I will show you how we can have the interrelationships between these, or calculation of the aggregates. Okay. So the first aggregate which we are doing is GDP at market price. GDP at market price. Kindly note down definitions, because many a times 1 mark questions on definitions of these are given. Now I am giving you the definition today, but after, when I explain how to get the formulas, you will find that learning the definition by heart is not such a good idea, but once you understand, you will be able to write the formula by yourself also. But for the moment, take down the definition. GDP at market price. It is the market value, note down, it is the market value of all final goods and services produced within the domestic territory during the, it is the market value of all final goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country during a period of 1 year. So this is the definition for GDP at market price. Second, the GNP at market price. GNP market price. Write down. It is the market value of all final goods and services produced within the domestic territory of the country inclusive of NFIA, net factor income from abroad, inclusive. So here it will be GNP and market price will be GDP market price plus inclusive of NFIA. So the formula is GNP market price is equal to GDP plus NFIA, inclusive of net factor income from abroad. Third, NDP market price. Write down. It is the market value of all final goods and services produced in the domestic territory of a country exclusive of depreciation during a period of 1 year. So NDP at market price would be GDP at market price minus depreciation. Am I in the way? GDP at market price minus depreciation. The next is NNP at market price. What is NNP at market price? Note down. It is the market value of all final goods and services produced in the domestic territory of the country along with net factor income from abroad, along with net factor income from abroad, and exclusive of depreciation during a period of 1 year. So NNP at market price, if calculated from GDP, it would be GDP market price minus depreciation plus net factor income from abroad. If NNP at market price is calculated from GNP market price, it would be minus depreciation. And if NNP market price is calculated from NDP market price, it would be plus NFIA. Now these are the three things which at once you get the logic of how to form the formula, you don't have to learn it by heart. But for the moment, I am asking you to copy it down. How to take the aggregates will be discussed at a later stage. Right now, I am only giving you the definition. So NNP when calculated from GDP would be GDP at market price minus depreciation plus net factor income from abroad. When NNP market price is calculated from GNP market price, it would be minus depreciation. And when NNP at market price is calculated from NDP market price, it will be NDP plus NFIA. So kindly note these down. The next is GDP at factor cost, the definition. It is the sum total. It is the sum total of factor income generated within the domestic territory of a country, inclusive of depreciation during a period of 1 year. And GDP at factor cost will be calculated as NDP factor cost plus depreciation. And if it is calculated from GDP market price, GDP factor cost, GDP market price, here you will get minus NIT. So GDP at factor cost, when calculated from NDP factor cost, NDP is another name for domestic income. Okay, NDP is also known as domestic income. When we add depreciation to this, we will get GDP at factor cost. And if we calculate GDP at factor cost from the GDP market price, it will be GDP market price minus NIT. Second is GNP factor cost. GNP factor cost. Definition. It is the sum total of factor income generated within the domestic territory of a country, inclusive of depreciation and net factor income from abroad, NFIA, during a period of 1 year. So here NDP factor cost, that is domestic income, plus depreciation plus net factor income from abroad, NFIA. NDP factor cost plus depreciation plus NFIA, and if it is calculated, if GNP factor cost is calculated at GNP market price, here it will be calculated by minusing net indirect taxes. So we are done GDP factor cost, GNP factor cost. The next one is NDP factor cost. NDP factor cost. Definition. It is the sum total of factor income within brackets rent, wages, interest and profits, within the brackets rent, interest, wages and profits, generated within the domestic territory territory of a country during a period of 1 year. NDP at factor cost is also known as domestic income, and this is calculated as NDP at market price minus NIT. And the last is NNP at factor cost. NNP factor cost. Definition: it is also known as national income. And it is the sum total of factor income generated within the domestic territory of a country, inclusive of net factor income from abroad, NFIA, during a period of 1 year. So NNP at factor cost is calculated as NDP factor cost plus net factor income from abroad. NNP factor cost can also be calculated from NNP at market price will give you minus NIT. NNP at factor cost is equal to NDP at factor cost plus NFIA, or when we calculate it from NNP at market price, this is market price, NNP market price minus NIT. It is not very clear in the screen, last line. NNP market price minus NIT. Now, you may say to yourself, how to remember this? There is a way to remember it, and for that we need to have the interrelationship of different concepts. Can I wipe out this board, please? Yes? Anyone can speak? May I wipe out this board?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you will write down interrelationship, R-E-L-A-T-I-O-N, relationship of different concepts. This is gross, this is net. When we minus depreciation, we will get net when we add depreciation from net, we will get gross. Then note this down. Gross, net, gross is G, net. When depreciation is taken out from gross, we come to net, and from net to go back to gross, we will add depreciation. Domestic income, national income, domestic. When we add net factor income, we go to national, and from national, if we remove the net factor income, we come back to domestic. Market price, factor cost. From market price, when you minus the net indirect taxes, you go to factor cost, and from factor cost, if you plus the net indirect taxes, you will get market price. Now, if you would keep this handy tomorrow, using this relationship, I will show you how easy it is to take out the formulas for any aggregate. There will be no problem at all. Okay, but since we are running out of time now, I am quickly going to say that factor cost is the factor payments after everything has been paid for all the factors of production. When you add up all the indirect taxes, what will it be sold in the market? It's called the market price. So you add all the taxes to get market price. But when we are going back from market price to factor cost, you will minus the net indirect taxes. Similarly for domestic and national. Now, domestic income is all those goods and services produced in the domestic country. Okay. To that, if you add all the net factor incomes from abroad, are people who are bringing income from abroad, and we are paying people to abroad. Remember, NFIA is factor income from abroad minus factor income to abroad. So when you add NFIA, you will reach to national. And if you want to go back from national to domestic, what would you do? You would minus net factor income from abroad. Similarly, to arrive from gross to net, you will first depreciation will be minus. What is another word for depreciation? Consumption of fixed capital. People also use CFC, which is consumption of fixed capital. Another word for depreciation. And from net to go to gross, you will add the depreciation. Is it okay? With this, we come to an end of today's chapter. Or today, we are stopping the lecture till here. Tomorrow onwards, we will do the aggregates and how to find the aggregates. Is it okay? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we stop till here, all of you.